and welcome back to my Middle Scooters and Adventures on my new series, Back Roads, as I explore the back roads around Mansfield and explore the River Meaden. Today I stop off at the Pleasley Colliery, looking at Pleasley Square and pay my respects at the Pleasley War Grave. So let's go back with a coffee and biscuits as I begin my adventure. Back roads, here it comes. Series 1. So, I start my adventure on one sunny morning. And yet the first shot of this adventure is the Fish Ponds transmitter site above King's Mill in Mansfield. And I start my adventure on Pennant Lane in Mansfield. And the house just coming up there is my old teacher's house there. That's where she used to live. A very nice house and a very nice garden she had. It was a glorious sunny day. And this day was the hottest day of the year so far. The record has since been beat several times over, and it's the summer of 2025. And yet this used to be, believe it or not, one of the main roads between Mansfield and Pleasley. This road would bring it out on Abbott Road or down in Pleasley Square, or you could go down and round into Hardwick. A little maze of roads before the new bypass was built. And there's the view of our target today, Pleasley Colliery, in the picturesque village of Pleasley in Derbyshire, near junction 29 of the M1. So you can see this is the view from Pennant Lane in Mansfield. Looks fairly close in a straight line, but it took me around 20 to 30 minutes to get there. So I continue down Pennant Lane towards the farm shop. Well worth a visit. It's open most days, but I do believe it's closed on a Monday. And yeah, certainly a nice day for a ride out on the scooter. It can do 8 miles an hour, my scooter. And legally, as I'm on the road, I can do 6 to 8 miles an hour. If you go over your 4, you're meant to be on the road. And what's this interesting article I came across? It looks like an old plough from a farmer's tractor. Quite a picturesque picture there. And as you can hear, the birds are singing as well. And that's the view over towards Pleasley. And there's my panoramic view, taken from the iPhone 14 Pro Max, as is this video was recorded on as well. But I come over this way, and again, I discover potholes. The vein of my life on a scooter, 'cause to a car, they may not be that significant, but on a mobility scooter, anything like that is extremely painful. And yet my neighbour on potholes like this has had his suspension gone. And I've got other friends who also had suspension damage due to the potholes as well. And as you can see, I'm getting up to 8 miles an hour. Looks a bit quicker, but it's because of the edges in how the video was taken. As you can see, I caught a pothole just then. And there we go. There is one of the junctions on Pennant Lane. The one to the right used to go through a ford, and it came through on Abbott Road, and you would go across the road and you would be on Westfield Lane. As well, very nice going down there in the summers in the 80s. before that bypass was built. And there is the farm shop, DD and E Bates farm shop. And in the stable there are horses. I don't know if you'll be able to see them on camera though, but there was horses there. And those two things that look like giant dustbins, they are grain stalks as well. You can remember the old tin dustbins as well. And back then, in the 80s, the dustman would come and collect your dustbin and put it back on your backyard for you. And these days, we have them on wheels and we have to put them out to be collected. But in history, the bin man collected it for you. Well, our times have changed. And just one tin dustbin for everything. These days, we've got a green one for, just down there was the Ford. The green bin is for general waste, while blue is recycling. The black one is glass. We've got a brown one for garden waste. And there's a yellow one in case you have medical waste. That is dealt with by Pleasley Company. And as you can see, the ends at this farm shop are free ranged. Well, and that's where you would go into the farm shop. We're just coming up to a junction here. You need to go off to your 2 o'clock. And there is the sign that tells you the opening times. And pause the video if you want to know when to visit this farm shop. So still on Pennant Lane in Mansfield. Coming up to a waterworks just on the right. That pumps water into the nearby pumping stations. And at the time, they were doing some maintenance work in the nearby fields. There you go, you can see it just on the right. The workers, and just there is a hidden entrance to the site. So, yeah, be careful of this hidden entrance. So there we go again. The target looks a bit further away this time, doesn't it? And strangely, I'm closer to it. Incidentally, Pleasley Colliery was opened in 1873 when its shafts were sunk. Other collieries nearby was New Uffon and Shirebrook Colliery. And later on, Shirebrook Colliery had an important part to play in the history of Pleasley Colliery. The shafts were sunk in 1873 and Pleasley Village became a mining village. And there were also the Pleasley Mills in Pleasley Vale. And the village was used for hosiery and mining, meaning both the men and women were well employed. And as you can see from the pictures, you only can see one chimney at Pleasley Colliery, as we'll see later when I arrive. Until 1977, Pleasley had 2 chimneys. And in 77, the west chimney was demolished and removed, and the headstock leg was enclosed in concrete. This was when Pleasley Colliery started experimenting with electrical power, but only for underground lighting. Pleasley Colliery was one of the first collieries in the country that started experimenting with electric for underground lighting. Lighting. The power was provided by the English Electrical Company, which took their power supply into the electric powerhouse, which was at the colliery. Pleasley kept the steaming engine, which was a Markham steam engine of Chesterfield in Derbyshire, so quite a local village as well. But in those days, 1873, it would have been quite a distance to take a steam engine and install it as well. This engine was kept for taking men and equipment underground and returning them to the surface at the end of the day. And today in 2025, the Markham steam engine of Chesterfield, Derbyshire, remains in working order, and you can see it steaming on weekends and bank holidays. And there we go, we can see only the one pit tower, which was for the steaming engine, is well. So this view is taken from Sampson's Lane in Mansfield. And there is another farm. This way goes past some very picturesque farms as well. And yeah, a very enjoyable new series of bike roads, I must say. This one, yeah, do bear in mind to keep well into the left, as it is a S-bend and a blind bend. Bear in mind my camera is slightly out to the side of my scooter, so it's a bit deceptive to where I am on the road. As you can see, for those who can walk in able body, plenty of footpaths in the local area. It is possible to walk through to Ardwick Hall on these back roads as well. And what a picturesque place this area must have been before the redevelopment in the 50s through to the 70s, when estates like Ladybrook were built. It was all open fields like this. And yeah, I'm getting closer look as well. And I just thought this picture or shot, should I say, will make a nice picture with the gate hook and a colliery in the background. And there we go, there's a still photo. And the second one to give you a perspective of where I am and the distance travelled in today's adventure. As you can hear, a nice cool breeze, and even though we still had a nice cool breeze, it was still quite hot today. It was full factor 50 sun cream. So let's continue on, make a round way through to Pleasley Square. Still about 5 minutes to go on the scooter to get to Pleasley Square. And yeah, if you ever go through it and you haven't looked over the wall, you'll find one of the best shots and nicest locations in the area. So at the end of this road, we need to turn left, head towards Pleasley itself. Bear in mind, this is a very fast road. I think it's a national speed limit, and we're going to a 30 zone. And again, there's another footpath. It gives you a good idea what it was like back in the day when you would walk to work across these fields. And again, extreme caution on this part of the journey because it is a double S-bend. But on the left, again, a very traditional and old farm with stone buildings. I do like the look of this farm. To me, it looks very nice. So I'm just going to pull over and take a look at it, and you can see what I mean with the traditional stone farm buildings. As you can also see, the farmer has gathered in the hay, ready for the fields, and there is the barns where he keeps all his equipment as well. But yeah, another panoramic for myself. And yeah, it's that time of year, isn't it, when all is safely gathered in, ere the winter storms begin. But yeah, another 5 months or so before that will happen. But the harvest appears to be a bit early this year due to the nice weather we've been experiencing in the UK. And here we go on the left, of the old traditional farm buildings with part of the roof still missing. And if we're coming to that blind bend, be aware on the left there is a concealed entrance to the farm. And there it is, where the camera's pointing there. Just be aware of that hazard. And now we continue down towards Pleasley Square. Yeah, for those wondering how I can use my mobility scooter on the road, if you have a road-going mobility scooter, that is defined as a scooter that can do between 6 to 8 miles an hour, you are allowed to use the road, because over 4 miles an hour, you can't use it on the pavement. And I'm fully taxed and insured. And yeah, but my insurance is quite good. If I break down anywhere, I can spend up to £30 on refreshments. Using the What 3 Words app, the recovery will find me within an hour. And if I'm on a bad road, they will push me to the road or to the rescue vehicle as well. And I would well recommend Mark Bates of Grantham. They've been fantastic to me in the past when I've had problems with the scooter. So this is where I am in Pleasley Square. Look at the white arrow, and we're going to have a look over the wall. Now, what about this? As beautiful scenery. A very nice place to live. And the house at about the 11 o'clock, sorry, 2 o'clock, there we go, zooming into it. What a lucky person he is to have those views every morning on a beautiful day like this. To my left, there is a tea room, open Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, and Sunday. And there we go. I have paused the video so you can zoom in and out and have a look at the beautiful scenery. Was hidden behind a wall. There were plenty of wildlife present at the time. And this will be a place I will visit again. And what relaxing sound that is. The sound of the flowing water down the waterfalls. There are 2 pubs nearby, so if you're going out for a summer walk, there's 2 pubs. We've got the Nag's Head, and there's a pub behind me which I can't remember the name of. And look at that strange bird there. Silly posing for a picture. And incidentally, it was an ornament. And we've got some old wheels there, what used to be used for grinding corn in the old days. And which is part of a mill that used to be in Pleasley Square. Not the mills I'm visiting in episode 2 of my adventures along the River Morn on my series Back Roads. So we move on to Pleasley War Memorial to pay our respects of soldiers from Pleasley and the surrounding area who gave their lives in the Great War and the Second World War and still do to this date. And remember, at the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them and the freedom they gave us. and we can enjoy our freedom, what we all enjoy today. And there is Pleasley Miners Welfare, a focal point of the village. We would find all the miners and their family. And the thing about miners' welfare is, according to my dad and grandparents who worked in the colliery, it was cheap beer. And there are some of the pit houses that belong to the pit management. The workers' pit houses were behind me on the main road in Pleasley. In recent years, they have been demolished to make way for new modern housing. So we need to take a left just here. As you can see, it's well signpost. And if you look on our right, there are some very nice looking houses. I guess these houses cost quite a bit of money. And nice walks in the evening around the Colliery's country park. There is a free car park at the Colliery. The Colliery has the Colliery canteen where you can have refreshments. There is also an accessible toilet and toilets on site. And yep, there's the sign. We're now officially at the Colliery. And those houses are brand new. They weren't there on my last visit a couple of years back. And there we go, I have made it to my destination after 35 minutes exploring the back roads of Mansfield. And there is the public car park. There is an accessible car park to the right. And there is the headstock, the winders and the winding house. And that's the one that took the men up and down. The reason you know it's up and down, as there's no enclosed headstock. If it's enclosed, you know that's the one for the updraft, which provided air to the colliery. And as I said, the colliery opened in 1873 and the colliery closed in 1983. But that was not the end of Pleasley Colliery's life, because it remained open until 1992. Even though the main headstocks were not used, coal was still mined and taken out through Shirebrook Colliery. And the pit was still played a very important part to provide airflow to the Shirebrook Colliery. And airflow in pit terms is ventilation. And yep, that was done until 1992, where it provided ventilation. But before then, in 1979, Pleasley Colliery and Shirebrook Colliery merged the two collieries, and coal was taken out through the Shirebrook Colliery and not the Pleasley Colliery. The Pleasley Colliery had two railway lines, which went into the colliery. More about that later. So directly in front is the winding house, where you would find the Markham steaming engine of Chesterfield, Derbyshire, which is operational on days like the weekend and bank holidays. And in that shot you could see the wheel, and the little rim of the wheel is where the cable would go from the winding drum So imagine a great big cotton reel as the winding drum. A piece of cable went off of that, attached to the cage, went up and over the winding and headstock, and went up and down the colliery. And that building there is the engine house. In there, you got the engine, you got the light room where you would get your headlight. Before then, it was a safety lantern. And there's the symbol that tells you the pit opened in 1873. And these safety lanterns were a very special thing because it had the first security lock on many years ago, before it became standardized thing, safety locks. And believe it or not, magnets could get yourself the sack. So if you had a magnet in your pocket and you went to go down the colliery and they gave you your pat down and you had a magnet, you could end in dismissal because that could open the safety light, meaning a flame was exposed to any gas that could be present. So as you can see, that wind down headstock is enclosed. That tells us it is for the updraft and bringing coal up. Also in that building is the Pit Ponies building. And like I said, where you would collect your lantern and self-rescuer. And self-rescuer, you may ask, what's that? So basically, it is a basic gas mask that you would wear in the event of an emergency. And it was kept in a metal tin, like a snap tin. And it was your responsibility to put it on. You didn't have to wait for the gaffer or management to tell you put it on. And there is the train that would take men from the main road down the branches to the coal face. Because you could, from this point here, travel several miles underground to get to your working spot on the coal face. And a very responsible job riding this train, or should I say driving the train. But back to the self-rescuer. So, if you could smell smoke, or see smoke, or you heard a bang or an explosion, or you would start to feel unwell, you were not ordered to put it on because you could be by yourself. And if you felt any of the following, a gush of air, an explosion, or a smell of gas, smoke, you put this on straight away. So you would flip up the safety catch, take the lid off, drop the lid. You're doing this while you're holding your breath, and you take out this unit, give it a good pull, and you'll put it in your mouth, bite onto this regulator, and put your straps over your head, and put the clip on your nose. And it was always best to put it on by mistake and not to put it on and be overcome in seconds. So yeah, this is the type of train that was underground. Or you could ride the conveyor belts. The conveyor belts you would lie on, and when you got near the end you would roll off and come to work. And there's the lamp house, or the safety lamps. Like I say, they were little lamps, like a tube, had a wire mesh to protect the flame, and you would look at it, and if the flame turned blue, it meant there was gas and a risk of explosion. And after explosion, there was risk of fire damp and after damp, again, which could cause an explosion. So now we have reached the blacksmith's shop, a very integral part of any colliery. Because if anything broke or anything was needed, the blacksmith will mend it or make it for you. Like repairing tools, picks and tools, all things like that to keep a colliery going. And also, the blacksmith would put horseshoes on the pit ponies. The pit ponies were used to pull the coal out of the collieries back in the day to save the men having to do it. As well, and my granddad job in the colliery was to look after the pit ponies. My other granddad finished off as an engine man after 52 years service to the country and industry. So look at this magnificent structure that provided airflow to the men underground. And yeah, what happened if the way out got blocked? That one, or something went wrong? Well, you could walk out the colliery and you would walk down the roadways, branches, and it would be possible to come out at another colliery. So there you would add Shybrook or Uffin colliery, which was about 300 yards away in the next little village. And if it was an incident in another colliery, they would come out your colliery, therefore saving the men's life. So at its height, Pleasley Colliery employed 1,300 men, which is a lot of men. It was an integral part of the area of black gold. Yeah, only a miner could tell you what black gold is. And there it is. Many children will probably say this is rock, but it's a very special rock. Fossil coal made over hundreds and thousands of years of Earth cycles and life. And this is called coal or coke. And in the olden days, you would put this on a fire to keep you warm. And fires back then, they were the most important part of any home because they kept you warm, they boiled your water, they cooked your food. And these fires were massive because it had an oven, they had a little boiler. You would hang a kettle on a hook above the flames. You would also put coal out of the fire into an iron to iron your clothes. And look at that brick there. Can you see the words on it? Shybrook, Sherwood Colliery. That stopped you nicking the bricks to build a wall. Because the gaffer would come round. Hey, what have you got these bricks here for from the colliery? It's got our name on it. That one. And you would get a telling off. Is well. Most collieries had the name printed into the bricks. So, where was I? That one. Yep, Pleasley was an integral part of the village. Closed in 1983. After 110 years of mining came to an end in the village. The Pleasley Collieries had already closed and the area was decimated. And this is a look under the headstock as well. A bit untidy, but not as interesting as I thought it would be. There is, well, but like I said, it said it closed in 2020. No, I'm reading the wrong script. So there we go, Pleasley Colliery, 73 to 83. Is, well, but yeah, 110 years of mining industry came to the end. And there's still millions of pounds worth of coal below our feet. And believe it or not, millions and millions of pounds worth of equipment were left on roadways, coal faces and branches. Yet we're very lucky every day to have this working engine so close to us. Is well. And Yet remember to give them a call before you go to avoid disappointment in case they're not steaming the engine. The colliery is free to enter. There is a canteen on site, accessible toilet facilities, and a car park. So we're heading back home now after about a 3-hour adventure. And we'll take a look at the farm shop from the other direction. And as you can see, it's still a beautiful day. And another strange quirk about the mining industry and the fires, to warm your bed up, you'll take some coal out of the fire, put it into a pan, and it would warm up your bed. As well, warming up a bed with coal. Yes, I'm sure any firefighter these days will go a funny colour if you told them that, but yeah, at least working for the colliery, you got free or cheap coal, and you got an house. But if something went wrong, where you lost your job, got injured, you would lose your house, your money, and your livelihood. And yourself, and your wife, and your bairns would be on the street as well. So, we pay homage and respect to the miners that served our country and the industry through 2 world wars. They did a fantastic job. And miners during the the Great War, that were told they had to dig underneath the no man's land to build these places to cause explosions, were magnificently brave. And to go underground where you may not come again, we salute them. And on my way back, we pay homage to a fallen hero of the local area. This young person who went to one of the modern wars in our time died days before his birthday. And at the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. And there it is, our fallen hero of our local community. Born the 19th of June, 87, died the 7th of June, 2009, age 21. So I've reached the end of my adventure for episode 1 of Backroads as I explored the collieries of the local area. This episode is dedicated to all those that served in the industry and gave their lives while serving their country and industry, both miners and soldiers, who paid the ultimate price. So there ends my first episode in Backroads as I explore the River Meaden and explored Pleasley Colliery, just off the M1 junction 29. Be sure to watch episode 2 of Backroads, where I explore the River Mourne and explore Pleasley Mills. This episode was filmed on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Voiceover was the DLC creator and editing was done by Final Cut Pro by Apple. Filmed on location Pleasley Colliery, Pleasley War Memorial and Ladybrook War Memorial. So that's it, hope you enjoyed it and I'll see you on the next one.